Perena, and he is the one of the founders of Dragon's Den, like a Shark Tank in India. There is something similar of Shark Tank in Turkey. It's called Dragon Den. So he is one of the founders. He was a shark there, one of the very famous and known shark, the way we call it here, Ashley Grover. And because of his work, he was invited by the US President, Mr. Barack Obama, in 2009 to the White House. And he convinced Mr. Obama to bring the World Entrepreneurship Summit, which happens once a year, to Turkey, and that happened in 2012. 2011, it happened in Turkey. And you, some of you may remember that was his whole effort that the World Entrepreneurship Summit came down to Turkey. And the first time US hosted that summit outside US. So that was a start of that hosting. And eventually that summit also came down to India in 2016 or 17 when Ivanka Trump came. And that happened in Hyderabad. So that is the first time US government hosted it outside and then came to India eventually. Bybras started the word business. So he saw a need to host all the entrepreneurs and angel investors from all across the world. And he was the president of EBAN, which is the European Business Angel Network, and he acted into the network for long. So he said, let me take the challenge. He started World Business Angel Forum in 2014-15. And incidentally, I was quite honored that he was invited. He invited me because we had a friendship from WWF as one of the initial members. So we slowly built up this whole organization last 7 years. This is one of the biggest forum for entrepreneurs in the world today. WBF is present in more than 132 countries. More than 1,600 angels and groups are part of WBF. In fact, the WBF events are very colorful events. You see almost 50 to 60 presidents and prime ministers of different countries have come and participated in WBF, including President of Malaysia, Croatia, Montenegro, Turkey, number of countries. And in terms of minister, I would say almost 400, 300 ministers and mayors of the different places who have come. Multi-billionaires who participate, multi-angel who come and participate. So it's a fairly active community, very well knit, very well connected. Incidentally, last year, just before COVID, 2020, in fact, 2020 COVID, that was my last international travel before the COVID actually hit down. So I still remember in February of 2020, we took one of the largest delegation of Indian entrepreneurs to Istanbul. At that time, we had to make a request that if you come kindly visit. So incidentally, because of G20, Bybras is able to visit India. So many thanks for coming here, and we welcome you to India and also to IIT Kharagpur. Let me request Neelab to come and tell about what we are doing here in TechKivat. We'll give you a little bit of background of what we do in TechKivat, why we have started this initiative of doing this discussion at IIT Kanpur. And also I will request you to show some of the photographs of WBF events in the past before we invite Ms. Bybras to the stage.
Thank you, Dr. Nikhil Agarwal. Thank you all. We have a great gathering here. Why TechKivat? First, we go into that logo. Why it's half in Hindi, half in English. We, being a technology institute, we thought we talk of innovation all the time. But the major problem that we saw was that people don't understand technology that easily. And if you go to our institute and talk to anyone, they'll talk in a language which is so foreign and so beyond your understanding and comprehension that you end up speaking. So our initiative was to create a talk show where we bring in world experts like Mr. Bebas and talk about some of these complex issues in a language that everyone understands. And we can then make sure that this goes out to the hinterlands of Uttar Pradesh, Hindi being a official language in Uttar Pradesh. So we thought of also mixing in Hindi with it. So yeah, so this is a small initiative. This is the second round. The first one was held in July. There we talked about artificial intelligence and how it started in India and in the world, and how it trickled down into and where we are exactly in terms of artificial intelligence. This time we are talking about angel investments, another topic which is very not many people would like to say that it's their cup of tea. So yeah, so we have Mr. Bebas here to make it easy for us and make sure that it's understandable for everyone. So I would like to thank everyone who turned up here today to join us in this session. And I would now like to call Dr. Mitra to felicitate our guest of the evening and with flowers. So if Dinesh, can you take the flowers? Mitra, sir, I would like to invite you on stage.
Welcome to India. You also join us. Dr. Sindhu. Dr. Sindhu. Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Moving forward, we'll begin with a fireside chat with Mr. Bebas and Dr. Nikhil Agarwal. We'll try to keep it as interactive as possible, but I would request to try keeping the questions at the end. We'll open the floor at the end of the session. We'll first begin with Mr. Bebas' small presentation on what the WBAF initiative, what they do, and how they actually managed to build such a big empire with that organization. So I'll invite Dr. Nikhil Agarwal and Mr. Bebas. I will set them up with their mics.
Welcome very much to IIT Kanpur. Just to tell you about the IIT Kanpur is one of the oldest tech institutions in the country, and it's almost 60 years since we formed. So this is a smaller campus that we have, what you see here in Noida near Delhi. We have a larger campus approximately 500 kilometers from here. It's a 1200-acre campus. Inside we even have an aerodrome, so it's so large. And we have produced some of the very well-known alumni in the world, including the current CEO of IBM Global. So he is an IIT Kanpur alumnus. And within the IIT ecosystem, if you see, the almost half of the top 20 tech companies are having CEOs coming from this ecosystem. So we're very proud engineering institution. We also offer management MTech degrees and PhD degrees, and also the management degrees in MBA. We have recently started working on not only on the technology engineering side, but also in the biosciences as well as the medical side. So we are setting up our own hospital. So we are very pleased to welcome you to India.
Thank you very much, Nikhil. It is a great pleasure for me to be in New Delhi. Thanks to your invitation, by the way, because otherwise I will take my flight from Mumbai back to Istanbul in 2 days of time. By the way, this is, as you said, my second time in India. The first one was in Bangalore, and it was before pandemic. I think after seeing Mumbai and New Delhi, now I have a better understanding of the ecosystems on entrepreneurship. There's a very vibrant ecosystem, as a matter of fact, in maybe Mumbai and New Delhi. I don't know. I mean, the image of Bangalore is when you say startup and entrepreneurship, it is Bangalore. But I think New Delhi is also something like at that level. So congratulations for all your efforts here in this institute to empower the Indian economy and beyond by connecting startups, founders, and entrepreneurs, small businesses with global investors, and also giving them an opportunity to develop their entrepreneurial skills at your incubation center. At the personal base, thank you very much for your friendship. You and your wife are always welcome, and they all joined our congress in Istanbul. I was 4 times or 5 times in Istanbul together. Now we will re-meet in South Africa. Also, Dr. Singh will join us in Durban. Thank you very much for organizing this particular event of New Delhi. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So let me start this conversation, Bybras. So first, let me jog a memory about the book that you wrote, which became one of the best sellers in the world, and I think was translated in 30 languages, Off to the Bus and to the Supercar. So can you tell me about your entrepreneurial journey, how you started, what prompted you writing the book, how you become the shark in the dragon's den? So maybe initial years, if you can reflect upon, that will help us in understanding that how you developed those things.
Nikhil, thank you very much. This means we won't be able to sell more books, because I will tell the book now, so you don't need to. I'm joking. Book was translated to many languages, including Chinese, by the way. I had been to Beijing to sign the book 2 times at the book. Why don't you translate it to local language in India?
We have 27 official languages, 850 dialects.
Okay,
so we have to
translate 27 languages.
So the problem with China is less. That's why they are very innovative, because they have only one Mandarin. We are only working about like what Dr. Sanjay is talking to me, what Dr. Mitra is talking to me.
The new translation is in Swahili language in Tanzania. It will be in the books by January. Also in Indian entrepreneurial ecosystem, I think, will also very shortly. I was a student at the university and staying in the dorm of the university. It was 1991. I was 21 years old, and McDonald's had just opened its first branch in Istanbul, in Taksim Square. And Istanbul is a small city in comparison with New Delhi. It's 20 million now, but it was 10 million that time. And people had objected to the idea of having a McDonald's in Turkey. Why? Because Turkey is a country with its meat, kebab, etc., etc. And how come a cheeseburger could compete with Turkish foods?
Yeah.
That was the idea. And people said, hey, they will open one branch, and you will see next year they will close it. That was the. But after they opened it, there was a queue in Taksim Square. Hundreds of people in the queue, almost 24 hours, to taste the cheeseburger, hamburger, Big Mac, etc., whatever. So there is still a 100 years old Turkish brand, Iskender Kebab in Turkey, and It is in Bursa. It is almost 3 hours from Istanbul. As a student studying at the university, at the Faculty of Education, it was not my business, to tell you the truth, to think about why McDonald's is bringing its cheeseburger from 5,000 kilometers away to Istanbul, but this guy from Bursa not able to bring it to Istanbul, but Istanbul has to go to Bursa to taste it. I said, well, there's something wrong here. I was working in a travel agent that time because I was a student trying to make my pocket money, my private maths lessons, German lessons, English lessons, whatever people want to pay for to learn, and also working in a travel agent. And on Sundays, the library was in our school garden. And on Sundays, families were not taking the lessons for their sons, daughters until 2 p.m. because Sunday time is brunch time, etc. So generally, I was very free on Sundays. There is no job for me to make money. Then I was going to library because it was just across my dorm and checking all the magazines, etc., free of charge, what is happening. Then there was a magazine, Economic Panorama, 2-page article about McDonald's and franchise system and how the people are showing interest. 2 pages. The title was Big Demand to Franchise, something like this. To tell you the truth, I didn't know the meaning of franchising. I read the article to see what this franchise means. But when I read it, I understood that it was a very meaningful system. And why not the Turkish entrepreneurs are not taking their brands abroad like McDonald's? This came to my mind. In the article, there was a telephone number and fax number. That time, in 1991, there was no internet. So there was fax machine. When I started working as a travel agent again in 1987, I was 17 years old. When I came to agent, there was telex machine, not fax. In 1987, July, the first fax machine came to Istanbul. So my generation is that I saw how from telex to fax to internet. But my son and my daughters they have no idea about telex and fax. They don't know what it is about. They have only internet. So I think we are more lucky, isn't it? So I came back to travel agent on Monday evening because it was from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. my timing, and there was only the fax number of German Franchise Association in the article. Then I prepared a letter to German Franchise Association and said, hey, I read an article at Economic Panorama and your number is available here. Why don't you come to Istanbul? What was my role? Why I invited him? Why he came here? What are we doing? I mean, nobody questioned. This is something I think, and this was an important lesson for me for the future. If you are having a good idea, and if everybody agrees about the quality of the idea, nobody questions who you are. They follow you. This is what I experienced in person when I was 21 years old. And this also developed my self-confidence, to tell you the truth, to take actions, even for big ideas. In the newspaper, it was saying, hey, Baybars Altuntaş invited Franchise Federation president of Germany and made a press conference, and there's a big, great demand to franchising in blah, blah, blah. But he left Turkey, and the next week, there were around 200 businessmen who were calling me, the travel agent, that they want to become franchisers. And they want to take their brands abroad through franchising system. And they were thinking I was expert of franchise. They don't know the real story, that how I was very busy with my exams, etc. at the school. Then I was coming at 5 p.m. to the travel agent, and they were, hey, 20 people called today, 30 people, and they are asking about franchising. Then I sent another fax message to Hansland. I said 200 businessmen are now ready to become franchisor or franchisee. So what is the next? What am I going to do, and how am I going to answer them? He said another fax. We are going to organize, he says, the European Franchise Federation Summit in Wiesbaden in Germany. You can come here and represent the Turkish franchise ecosystem and deliver a speech to potential franchisors here, how they can benefit from these opportunities in Turkey. I said, me, yes, you, okay, we will finance my flight ticket, etc. We will do it, and bring also 2 journalists, whoever. So I called the Milliye daily paper and the Economic Panorama journalists, hey, German Franchise Association wants to sponsor our flight tickets and accommodation, and inviting us to Wiesbaden. Then we had been to Wiesbaden. I delivered that speech. They opened the Turkish exhibition booth free of charge. And I had printed my business card, by the way, before moving there. Baybars Altuntaş, Istanbul Franchise Bureau. That's it. I mean, I am a walking bureau, not director, not manager, whatever. And I was distributing this card to people in the breakfast, in the elevator, etc. The whole, McDonald's European director, British Petrol, we were all in the same hotel. They were organizing the congress just across the hotel, and the journalist said, hey, there is a great demand now to Turkish franchise industry. She asked me. So what is next step, she said. I said, next step is, now we are establishing the Turkish Franchise Association. She said, oh, that's a great news. Who are the founders? She said, me. But by law, you need minimum 7 founders to establish the association. Okay, I said, and I gave the list. The next day, she is sending the press release from the article from Wiesbaden to Istanbul, so it is more valuable. News is coming from Wiesbaden. So immediately they put half page. Wiesbaden, Ceylan, her name was Ceylan. Ceylan is reporting that Turkish Franchise Association is on its way and under the leadership of Baybars Altuntaş, and these are the founders. All my dorm mates at the school found that their names in the article as a founder of the Turkish Franchise Association the next step. So please be careful while selecting your friends. Dear friends, you can find yourself in the article without knowing what you are doing or about the things you have no idea. But 45 businessmen called me and said they also wanted to become the founder of the association. These were really, I mean, one of them was representing 7-Eleven. Other one was Kentucky Fried Chicken's CEO. These are the real ones, not the dorm fake franchisers. So these 45 called, and I said, let me organize another meeting at the Kempinski. However, they are sponsoring my events. And I called the same lady, and I said, now we will make a second meeting again on franchising, and I hope you will sponsor again. She said, sorry, but we are not sponsoring all the time. I mean, now you have to pay. So each participant, 45, came to the meeting, and the meeting was like this, the square. I was sitting here. The problem was anyone coming in the room was a hello, Nick, hello, Cindy. Everybody knows everybody except me. I know nobody in the room. First time I see them because they called and they left their telephone numbers, and I just called them and invited them to the meeting. And then the guy sitting just across, and I said, let's introduce here the introductions of each person, because I will take note down who is who, and hear what they are doing about. The guy said, my wife, as you know, he said, everybody knows except me. As you know, my wife is a professor of economics at the Boğaziçi University, and she gives very importance to franchise issue. And in the United States, we solved 7-Eleven, and we brought 7-Eleven as a franchise to Turkey. And any role given to me in this process would be very welcome. This is what he said. Then in this meeting, some participants said it would be difficult to establish the association with all 45 people. Let's select 7 people with minimum, and one person is Baybars 8. Baybars becomes the board member and secretary general of the association, and this guy elected as the president of the association. Then we started making meetings. In the vice president said, I have a small office, 20 square meter area in Taksim Square. You can use it as a secretary general office free of charge as a support to the new association. And our secretary, however, can also answer the phones. So no need to hire a secretary for the associations. So my new job was Secretary General of Turkish Franchise Association. In the afternoons, I'm going to that office and just making the communication PR of the issue with the journals, etc. And one day, and we were also making the board meeting in this small room. We were 5 people, president, vice president, me, and one of them was Nectar Beauty Shops, other one was Alpha Graphic CEO at that time. And one day, in one meeting, the president said, his name is Özer, Mr. Özer said, last night, the president, Demirel, who is not living now, passed away, I'm telling 1991, and he called professor, he was calling his wife as professor of economics, and professor, and invited her to become parliament member, because he wants to increase the number of women politicians in the parliament, and we are thinking about it. This is what he said. Then we said, oh, that's great, etc. After this meeting, 6 months passed, and 6 months later, elections made, and professor became parliament member in Turkey, woman parliament member. But 3 months after she became parliament member, the current president passed away.
No.
on bicycle, heart attack. And prime minister who called her became president. And professor became the first woman prime minister of Turkey. These all happened in 9 months. And I became, because I was dealing with the economy journalists, and the main issue was economy in Turkey at that time, and prime minister is an economist, I became a very important figure for journalists for the connection to the prime minister.
So from being a student to become the important.
I was still a student.
Still a student.
I was still student because I was still student. And Mr. Özer had invited me because he established a small team for her campaign elections. And he put me as a slogan, agitation propaganda slogan writer in this. He said, "You are writing very good slogans." And he had a car. I was coming by bus. So my book's name is Off the Bus into a Supercar. This is not a story. This is a real case, as a matter of fact. I was taking a bus from the school, coming to downtown, and then he was taking me from there and going to the campaign area, which was 2 hours out of Istanbul. A hotel where all the party members, etc., are coming together. In this was a very beneficial, case for me. Why? Because when we came to this campaign election area, there were around 5,000 people, very crowded, and there were people who dedicated almost all their life to their party. I saw it there. They were working almost 30 years for the party. And I was just a 1 week guy, but very close to the head. And I was with him coming from the bus together, and we were always in the first row. And I spent only 1 week. So this became a good lesson for me, to tell you the truth. The lesson was always keep yourself to the
close to the top.
To the top. This is the rule. Otherwise, you spend your 30 years and then a 1 week aged, experienced student comes and sits in the first row. This is the rule of the world. This is what I understood when I was 22 years old, Nick.
Very good.
This is what I'm telling to university students too. Because why? University students generally thinking, if you don't have money, if you don't know anybody from the ecosystem, you cannot succeed in this world. This is not the case. I didn't have money, but I had a business idea. I didn't have network because my mother was my elementary school teacher at the school. My father was a retired army general. Completely out of the real life. I don't know the army people. And my grandfather was an elementary school teacher. Grandmother is also elementary school teacher. So that was the ecosystem, the family. I didn't know. I'm telling you, I didn't know the meaning of sponsor. Yeah. So I think you understand what like an environment I am coming from. So it was something at home. For example, I never remember that we were talking about money at home. It was something completely out of the agenda. Pocket money issue was something they put it. My mother puts it in a box. Whatever she puts, that was my pocket money. So it is not like now the new generations. Not negotiating about that. However, after this, Özer Çiller became, maybe you remember Tansu Çiller, her name was woman prime minister. After our economy professor became prime minister, unfortunately, the economy failed. And because economy books are different than the fields. I mean, it is 100%. This is the case, and then he said, "I will. I'm moving to Ankara, which is the capital, so I have to leave the association." He said. Then I said, "I have to go back to my lessons. Otherwise, I will also fail. Not only the Turkish economy, but I will also fail from the school." So I left the association, etc. And one day, again, I came to Taksim Square, and I went to the new Secretary General to visit, because it was my old premise. The guy at the door said, they left. The new president took the Secretary General office, took his own company inside. So what happened to this 20 square meter Olympic standards office? He said it is empty, it is free. I mean, nobody is using it. Then I visited the owner of this building, who was vice president. Yeah, his name is Azmi. And Mr. Azmi, I said, "What are you going to do with this free office?" He said, "Nothing. Why do you ask?" I said, "You know, I'm working at travel agents. And at the travel agents, there is a big demand for tour operators who will organize the tours. And in Turkey, tourism education means hospitality management. They are training the hotel staff, but that time there were 3,500 travel agents, and nobody is giving education in the tourism school, tourism vocational school, or hotel management school. No training or no specific course for tour operators who will work at the travel agents. Why don't I said, open a travel agent course, which will be the first time in Turkey?" He said, "It doesn't work." I said, "Why?" "It doesn't work because, for example, did you go to a course training before starting to work as a travel agent staff?" I didn't know, I said. "But if there was a course, maybe I would go." There is none. He said, "Nobody in Turkey will pay for education of a travel agent to work in a travel agent. They apply and they start working and they learn while they." Said, "Okay, but I'm making the calculations again. What am I going to lose if I insist on more?" Then I started traveling him every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, once a month. Almost 3 months passed. And again, one day, I'm going in the lunchtime, by the way, because I discovered that he's presenting, lunch is included for the visitors too. So in the lunchtime, I'm having my lunch, and then Mr. Azmi is here. "Yes, Mr. Azmi, please reconsider that." And he said, "Come here. How much do you have?" I said, $400. That time in Turkey, inflation was very high, and dollar was increasing very fast. So, for example, I was teaching something, and then 1 hour I was getting Turkish lira. The next morning at the exchange, we were turning it to dollar to keep it value. That's what. So, with this system, I had saved $400. He said, "Very good. Now, please give an advertisement on the paper," because he also owned an agent, advertisement agent. 400 with your $400. Lose your $400, and then you will understand with your own eyes that it will not work. This is what he said. Then I said, "Let me think a little bit." He said, "What are you going to think? Because you were promising, claiming that we would make so much money. Now you say, let me think." So then entrepreneurs approach me at the Dragon's Den, etc., and say, "Hey, give me $100,000. Okay, you put $1,000, and then I will put when they say, let me think, what are you going to think about it?" This is an important question. I know this psychology of entrepreneurs because I passed from that way. Then I said, "Give me 2 days." It was the Wednesday when I visited. I will come on Friday evening, because on Friday evenings, I'm coming back to downtown, then going to my grandmother to stay, and at the weekend. So on Friday evening, I came. It was 7th of February, 1992, date, Friday. So I said, it is done. Let's give the advertisements, because I will lose $400. But what is the difference between living with $400 or without $400? What is the difference? This is what I calculated. I said, let's take this risk. And there is no much difference. However, I'm not spending this $400, by the way. It's always in the box. Then let me put it to the box of Azmi. And we give the advice. He said, okay, don't go, and don't, because otherwise you may change your idea. Sit down and give the advertisement on Sunday, immediately now. Okay, I said. I was expecting to give a half-page advertisement, because I didn't know the pricing schedule of the. It was just a small, because with $400, this is what you can give in the paper, and not all Turkey, by the way, only Istanbul papers. Then I wrote something, travel agent stuff, and so on. Then he came and looked at the computer. Is this the newspaper that you will? Is this the? Yes, I said. Don't write travel agent stuff, he said. Nobody will spend money to become a staff. He said, write tour operator instead of staff. I said, professional tour operator. This sounds much better, he said. Professional tour operator. Maybe they spend. The course was $200 at a hotel, three Saturday and Sundays. Then, by the way, there was no company. I forgot to put the company name, because it was so small, only the telephone number, etc. And on 9th of February, that was the first advertisement of my company. As a matter of fact, I have just told you the story of the biggest franchise chain in Turkey in education industry, because that was the beginning of the story. For 25 years, then of course, and thank you. The first week, I remember the cash turnover, because that time there was no credit cards in Turkey. I mean, credit card came to Turkey in 1995. So when someone wants to buy something, they pay cash. So the cash turnover was 78 registrations. Multiply by 200.
It's been almost $16,000.
Almost $16,000 this week. The other week and at the end of the month, almost $75,000 was in the. Then Mr. Azmi called me 1 month later, because that time there was a silence. He saw the advertisements, because every week I was giving the advertisements. It means I'm making more than $400, because he wants always the money cash. And I was paying $400, and he called me 1 month later. How is the business going on? I said, not good. Why? Because I was not paying for the rent. I was using his office free of charge. His secretary was opening the phones, etc. I had no cost, no electricity, nothing. I was just getting $75,000, paying for the instructors and hotel. That's it. So it was the most profitable business I made, as a matter of fact, this first 1 month. Then he said, how come? You bought a car? Yes. I had bought a small car for myself, $10,000, something like this. And I was using his car park area. And while he was parking, he said, whose car is this? And they said, Baybars bought it. This is Baybars. The guy said, you bought a car in the park area. Come here immediately. In the same evening, rent contract on the table, sign it. Also the last week's electricity, etc. You are going to pay everything now. He said before the car, you have to pay all these things. And at the end of the year, I decided to airlines. A new law came for airlines. Turkish Airlines was the only airline that time. Then the private airlines came, and I decided to open the flight attendants training. And the next year, in 1995, 5,000 flight attendants, and each of them paying around $1,000, by the way, not like the seminar. We made only from flight attendants around $5 million in 1995.
Very nice.
And 3 offices. Then I went to Geneva. And you know IATA, have you ever heard IATA, International Air Transport Association? I said, why don't we deliver the IATA training courses also in Turkey for Turkish Airlines, for private airlines, etc. Then they said, it's a great idea. These are the courses we are doing internally. I said, let's make Turkey a pilot project. And I pay something as the authorization fee. We do it, and they said you don't need to pay anything, but we can practice it in Turkey. If it works, then we do it around the world, which worked very well. And I think now there are many Indian travel agents or institutions, schools who are doing the IATA approved courses. It was my idea. Nikhil. You told in your speech that President Obama organized the courses, the summit. The summit. As a matter of fact, indirectly, I have also contribution to the entrepreneurship ecosystem of India. Why? Because when he organized this conference, he branded it as Presidential Summit on Entrepreneurship.
Yeah, you're right.
That was in 2010. Then I said, why don't you change it to a global entrepreneurship summit series every year in a country? Then the second one could be in Turkey. And Joe Biden came first time in Turkey to this summit when Turkey hosted in 2012. 11, sorry, 11, yeah, you are right, 11. Because it was in 2010, Obama summit. Then after Turkey, it went to UAE, Dubai, Malaysia, Morocco, Kenya, San Francisco, then India. India was the last one. Why? Because Trump came and Trump wanted to stop it. As a matter of fact, he canceled the India summit. Yeah. But then I think your administration, government convinced him, and Ivanka came. He didn't, but Ivanka came, and it was the last one. So the first one in DC, second one Turkey, but the last one. But the idea is here, the idea producer. So what like an, I mean, if you want any advice from me, I think the most valuable asset is the idea and the idea execution. These two things are really may change your life. So I think it was a short answer, isn't it?
You're fascinating. I know Baibras for so many times, like almost 1.5 decades, but I've never heard the story of how he started. So thanks a lot for getting this question. Couple of questions, then we can open up the floor because I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs and startups wants to ask questions to you. Let us now go to the subject which is in hand regarding the angel entrepreneurs. So my first question would be that there is a funding winter going on. And of course, you have said that you have done things when those things didn't exist. So I really like that antidote which you said, what am I going to lose if I don't try? So try it out. And if that works, why don't you replicate it? So in the funding winter, many of the entrepreneurs are scared that they are not able to raise any money. So you travel 40, 50 countries every year. What's your opinion about the funding winter concept? Like it is really exist. People are not raising any money. Is the entrepreneurs raising money? And if the entrepreneurs are raising money, where the angel investors are actually investing?
This funding winter, uh, I think it is not only now. Since I was the climate is always non-compatible with, to tell you the truth, fundraisers. It is always difficult. My, of course, approach is a little bit different than other angel investors. Why? Because generally, angel investors are coming from corporate life. Corporate life means they know how to manage the business, they know how to grow up the business, but they don't know how to establish a business. This is the main issue of corporate life people. They have money, they have network, they know how to grow, but they don't know how to establish the business. So they don't know the value of customer finance. If you ask me, hey, what is the best finance for an entrepreneur? My answer is very customer finance. If you develop your business model in such a way that customer will always continue financing your business by purchasing your product or service, then your business can attract all kinds of investors. It is easy. The weather will never become winter. It will always become spring for you. Why? Because your business model is a valuable business model. Customer is continuing to finance your business. So if an entrepreneur is saying, hey, I am not able to raise money for my business from investor, then I always start questioning about the business model he or she developed. Generally, the problem is not about the product itself. The problem is not about the market itself. The problem generally is the entrepreneur is not able to find a way to convince customer to finance his business. I can put you an advertisement here. You read and pass. I tell the same story with other words, with a different picture. You may like to call. Same product, same, but message is different. So everybody is talking about the importance of access to finance. For me, access to finance is not something that you have to waste by thinking. Access to customer is the main issue.
Yeah.
So if the businesses of the startup ventures, wherever in the world, by the way, in India, in US, in China, wherever, if you have access to the pocket of the customer, then you solve the problem. As a matter of fact, then you can use the engine money to grow up your business, not to establish the business.
That is a very honest advice. Something which, as an entrepreneur, we always discuss with our people. Like the most successful companies, there are almost 150 unicorns today, but there are only 2 unicorns which have not raised a single penny from any of the investors. They are completely bootstrapped, and they are working on this customer finance.
Yeah.
So the founder of the one unicorn is called Zerodha. Incidentally, he and me share the same name. His name is Nikhil Kamath. So he says, the only money which I have raised is from my shareholders or from my customers. And it's a very successful company, now multi-billion-dollar worth.
The advantage of the customer finance is customer never wants for the share from your company. They only want the service or product that you committed to execute. That's it. Then, of course, the disadvantage of the customer finance today is customer is the king. there are many alternatives for the same product. This is the main disadvantage of entrepreneurs too. But still, there are ways to reach to customer finance. And this is the responsibility of the entrepreneur to think and develop it.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll ask one more question before you open up the floor. Tell me about WBF and what we are doing in Durban in November.
Okay, let me tell you the story of WBF. Maybe this will be something that you will hear first. Obama invited me to join the summit in DC, and in the summit, they also introduced me with the global entrepreneurship department, GSP, something like this, head, who was Stephen Koltai. His name was Stephen Koltai. And after meeting him, the participants of the Congress, I mean, each TV channel was inviting some people to make interview. And Bloomberg in Washington, DC, invited me and him to chat about entrepreneurship on a live program. Then the lady who was making the interview asked, "What about angel investments in Turkey?" She said. I said, "No idea, because there is no angel investment system." And in Turkey, I said. And what about in US, Stephen? Stephen said, "I don't have an idea about it." Both of us first time heard angel investment word in this interview.
Okay.
After interview ends, and Stephen said, "Hey, do you know what angel?" "No, I don't know what. I don't know either," he said. "What is this angel investment?" In 2010. Next year, the Sony Pictures decided to make this Dragon's Den, Shark's Den program in Turkey, because they are doing it in Dragon's Den in UK, in Canada, with Dragon's Den, Shark's Den in US, with different brands in different countries. And it would be Dragon's Den in Turkey. And because of this Obama issue, I was very famous that time. And they said, "Please, you also take a seat as a dragon in this shop." Then the shop started. Then I understood we were all angel investors. So startups are coming and we are investing. Okay, now I understood what angel investment was. Then I started Googling a little bit more about it, and I left my email to Angel Capital Association in United States, to their newsletter. Some months passed, I received an email. "Hey, their General Congress is in Boston, your city, and at the Boston Hilton in April. My two daughters, they were studying, they wanted to see MIT and Harvard. I said, "Hey guys, April is completely matching with your spring break. So I joined this Congress and you travel the school. Boston, MIT, etc., whatever." So we, as a family, we went to Boston for our spring break holiday. I registered $900 for this Congress, ACA Congress. Then in the breakfast time, I was in the queue for taking my coffee, etc. Then the guy turned and all my coffee on my trousers. Then he said, "Oh, sorry, no problem." I said, "It is quite normal." And I had a badge, and "Oh, you are from Turkey?" "Yes." "I am from Portugal." "Yes." Then we went to the same table and started chatting. He was vice president of EBAN, the European Trade Association for Business Angels. I said, "I'm very quite new to angel investment. I'm a dragon in Turkey." "Oh, I watched Dragon's Den, etc. It is very important show for entrepreneurs, etc." Then guess who said hello to me in this meeting? Stephen Koltai. He also bought $900 ticket. He came to Angel Investment Congress. Oh, you are here? Yes. Yes, we are now trying to learn what angel investment is. Then, 3 months later, I will not tell you now, I don't want to waste your time. 3 months later, IBAN made its annual congress in Moscow. And I was elected as vice president. And Paulo became the president, who was guy. And I became the longest vice president of IBAN, 3 terms, 7 years. And while I was vice president, responsible for international relations and visiting around the world to deliver speech on angel investment, and I understood that there was a great demand for a global organization who advocated at the United Nations and G20 levels. And then I initiated the World Business Angels Investment Forum, and it is now the G20 partner, the 8th global partner of G20 after the World Bank. And so I am now in India, thanks to G20 presidents of India, and we are now advocating the importance of angel investment at the G20 level. Okay, what did I advocate? Let me tell you. 2 days ago in Mumbai, in the meetings, we are inviting small businesses to achieve business and digital transformation as a response to COVID economies. And we are inviting them to invest in their digital transformation, but digital transformation is not something cheap. And they are suffering financially, I know, because the world economy, you know, is not going very well around the world. Inflation rates, food crisis, etc. So while it is an investment that they have to make, then how can we invite them to invest in digital transformation while they are not able to pay the next month's salaries? So we have invited the G20 leaders to consider putting financial support to small businesses to achieve their digital transformation, which will include the financial inclusion in the world. That was our note in the meetings.
Very good.
Yeah, but let's wrap up the WBEF issue. We have now 10 country offices in the world. From Thailand to Bahrain, to Croatia, to Albania, Tanzania, Nigeria, Washington, D.C., Silicon Valley, Miami. We have 4 main missions: easing access to finance for entrepreneurs, enhancing digital inclusion, increasing financial inclusion, promoting gender equality. And we are trying to reach our goals through our institutes like WBEF Business School, Global Startup Investment Promotion Agency, Financial Inclusion Center, a publication house in UK, and an angel investment fund where the Nick is executive investment committee member. So we have around 1,600 senior associates, international partners, senators, senior senators from around the world, from 132 countries. As you see, in a very short period of time, it became a very global organization, and our next World Congress will be in South Africa on 21 and 22 November. And this is the seventh version of our World Congress.
Thank you. And I hope some of our entrepreneurs can also join this Congress.
Yes, because we are going to host the global fundraising stage in the 2nd day of the Congress. And not only WBEF Fund, but other private equity funds, wealth management institutions, etc., are all joining the global fundraising stage to listen to the teachings of entrepreneurs. You can go to WBAF 2023/GFRS Global Fundraising Stage 2023. This is the application form. After you apply, a scoring team is scoring them, and 100 selected entrepreneurs are able to teach on the stage. There are around 5,000 applications every year. 100 of them are pitching on the stage, and he is, as a matter of fact, announcing with Lucia, other executive committee member, announcing the selected startups for due diligence stage. It is taking almost 3 months or 6 months, depending upon I see also Shweta here. Shweta is the Secretary General of the committee. Welcome, Shweta. First time we are meeting in person.
happy and we are happy and virtually it was tremendous. We were meeting people, interacting so much. I was learning every session was just extremely wonderful. And let me tell you, Mr. Barbas is just full of knowledge. And last year we have made some investment prior the smart irrigation. That's a Spanish company, so they are taking care of the company and we are happy to have.
Thank you very much for your efforts to Shivata. Thank you very much. That's it. Could I sell the Congress?
Yes.
Could I sell?
Maybe I'll request Neelab to show some of the photographs from the past. Meanwhile, we'll open up the floor for the questions.
Joke aside, this Congress is not the biggest early stage equity market Congress. Many presidents, this is a photo from last year. Yeah, it is me. Inderjit from Singapore. Yeah. Our ministers are coming. These are the policymakers' side. Finance Minister San Marino. This is our grand opening ceremony. He also sent he was Ban Ki-moon, United Nations Secretary General, sent a special message. They are all on the website, as a matter of fact. This is the opening ceremony. The Mexican government made an economic cooperation agreement with WeWeb. So he is Science Technology Agency of President of the Science and Technology Agency of Thailand. The Istanbul Chamber of Commerce. Yes, Economy Minister South Africa. Yes, this is also a gala dinner. Yes. Nelson Mandela Foundation CEO. She is our. He was owner of Gucci in the global Gucci. South Africa, our main host. Turkish girls. And these are the exhibition booths. Before the exhibition, of course, we are also giving a mentorship session and investment readiness training to entrepreneurs. This is the global fundraising stage.
You can actually watch all this online.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can just ask.
Yeah, you can ask questions, by the way.
Yes.
Yes, please. 100 startups are funding themselves.
To come to Durban.
Yeah.
Yes. So they have to find their own resources. So number of countries also fund their own startup. For example, Bahrain is sending 5 startups and the Bahrain government is sponsoring them. Spain do that. Unfortunately, in India, we are not able to find, probably with the help of people like Dr. Mitra, if we can find some money to fund our startups.
So keep in touch with Nikhil, and he will let you know if the government can finance your travel.
So there is a scheme in the UP. If you are registered in UP, you may get up to 1 lakh rupees for international exhibition, and for 50,000 rupees for the domestic exhibition. So those who have not availed, those who are startup based in UP, they can actually make an application fairly quick. You can get 1 lakh rupees reimbursement if you are based out of UP from the UP government. That's something which is guaranteed regardless of the conference you are getting. So it will be almost 50% of your cost.
Yes.
Sir, I am a university student going to be 21 this December.
Yes.
So actually,
How much do you have?
$400.
Barely anything, but I am under in the process of signing a MOU with the biosciences lab. So actually, I want to facilitate the connection between the students and the research labs. So the process is actually very, based on physically, like we approach professors, they connect us to different labs, so I want to automate that process. So basically, I am also going to register my private limited company now. So I want to know how to scale it on a level that it will be beneficial for not only in the Delhi NCR level, but also in major education centers like Bangalore or Mumbai So I want to scale, but due to limited funds right now or not limited access. So I want to know that from you.
So what is the question there?
So how to scale my business?
So Mr. Bybras has answered this question in the very beginning. He said, what is there to lose? Until you try, you have to try hard to get, nobody will gonna help you out. Nobody will come to for rescue. You have to do it yourself.
As a matter of fact, some university lecturers don't enjoy me. You know why? Because they teach entrepreneurship. They teach in the classroom how to become successful in entrepreneurship. But they have never succeeded in entrepreneurship. They never established a business. They didn't recruit even one person, but they are teaching it in the classroom. This is the case. So I think it is better you not to waste your time by asking questions how to grow my business. You think by yourself. Whatever the answer you find, you do it. Then you see it. That's it. Because nobody will give you the correct answer. The correct answer is the answer that you will take from the market. This is the correct one. The others are true answers, close to correct. I can give you a true answer, but you will take the risk again. So it is better, don't waste your time. Whatever the best answer for you is, try it. If it doesn't work, retry it.
There's a question. Sorry.
And don't forget that you are living in the biggest country of the world, which means if you are not able to become rich in this country with 1.6 or 4 billion people customer, which means, come on, even you take $1 from one, it makes $1.4 billion. Think how you can do it. The problem is not everybody has $1 to give you. The problem is how you will collect all of them at the same time. This is the problem. So think about it. Thank you.
Yes, there's a question.
I don't have a question. I have an answer for you. I didn't get your name. Vineet. So, Vineet, I'll tell you a story, right? When I started my startup, we had very limited funds, right? We did not know about this angel investment thing, right? And we were very basic business, right? Today, after 3 years of my business, we are still bootstrapped, right? And we are a profitable company, right? And what my salespeople do is they write emails, which is very old, very traditional methods, right? We have been able to get Shark Tank clients, which were technically not possible for a company like me, bootstrap, which is not much in the news, right? Still profitable, but the world doesn't know about it, right? So it is just about how you make the communication. That's it. No matter at what age you are, no matter, I mean, it doesn't have to go through connections and connections and connections. Nobody is going to speak for you. Ultimately, you have to speak for yourself. We were talking about it. The last time we were talking with Agarwal and we were sitting in DIT, right? And there were panel of professors and the dean. They all talked about how to get investments. But when you talk to the professors about the idea, they themselves do not have the idea. They want to raise fund, but for what is the question? Right?
What is your name?
My name is Swati.
Swati. Swati, what is your name?
Vineet.
Okay, now Vineet, Swati will be the next 3 months, not more than 3 months, your mentor.
Yeah, sure.
Because she was catched by herself, by the way. It's not, and every week, 1 hour mentorship session with him, and then you will report him.
We speak very often than 1 week. So
Thank you very much for your contribution, and I think very good input from. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Dr. Sunil.
First, I want to ask you, have you made any investment in Indian startups?
No, not yet.
Are you excited about it?
Look, let's say there are two alternatives. Okay, same business model, same entrepreneurial skill, same company valuation. He's from India. Let's say he's from not India. Okay. At the end of the day, I would invest in the Indian entrepreneur. Why? Because if everything is same, then this is an access to 1.6 billion customers for me. This will be. So I think this is an important advantage of Indian entrepreneurship ecosystem.
In fact, just before that, Mr. Bagras was speaking to me about setting up a WBF India fund.
Yes, this is, yes.
So yes, we are in the business, Sunil. Don't worry about it.
I have one more. This is from the market side. Now, from the coming back to the founder side, have you done any comparison? Because you're sitting in a deep tech institute, a premium deep technology producing institution of this country. Have you done any kind of comparison between founders who are building for very cutting edge solutions in India versus who are building solutions in, say, Turkey or Israel? Or I know, I mean, I'm trying to compare to spectrum, but still, if you have done any kind of comparison between the founders,
I don't need to think. This information is, I think, available everywhere, by the way. When you said IT, India is coming to mind. I mean, everybody wants to work with Indian IT companies from abroad. Two reasons. One, more feasible HR prices. And second, hardworking and intelligent people. I mean, when these come together, it is creating a very you cannot compete so easily with this bundle, to tell you the truth. So this is, as a matter of fact, accepted by the world that the best IT solutions are in India. At the country specific, Serbia is good also in Belgrade for IT issues. Turkey is good. That's all coming to my mind about IT.
Yeah. Mainly the Eastern European bloc has certain countries.
Yeah.
Poland and all has also developed
good,
something, and they are cheaper.
Yeah.
Of course, US, but it's very expensive.
Yes, US expensive, and please note that you told me, for example, India now landed moon, but the cost is 10 billion.
One tenth of the cost of the NASA.
One tenth of the cost of NASA. I think this is there's an important lesson here, isn't it?
The same Indian engineer, we all know about it, will cost to 20 lakh rupees here and probably $250,000 in Silicon Valley. Same guy, within a week of getting H1, he will fly there and he will be expensive.
But what could be the thing that I think the ecosystem in India should focus on is why the company valuations are less than Europe and US. This is something, how can you increase the company valuations in India? This could be...
That is one of the pitches. I don't know whether it's an advantage or disadvantage, but this is a pitch we give when we speak to the outside investors. So I was speaking recently to Saudi Arabian investors, to Singapore investors to invest in our companies. So we are the largest tech incubator in the country. And I said that the dollar that you spend here in India will have 10 times the value of the Boston or Silicon Valley. The reason is because the same technology, same idea, the Indian companies are valued 1/10 of the cost. The cost of doing operations in India is still cheaper. So what we need to learn is that how do we make these entrepreneurial ideas grow? Yeah. If we are able to demonstrate that we can create an Uber or Airbnb or McDonald's from India, then these companies will become valuable. As of now, the companies are very domestic centric. Very few companies are able to go global. That's something which once we learn, I think that will answer your question. Things will change.
By the way, this digital age, I mean, post-COVID times, also, I think, increased the opportunities for the Indian entrepreneurship ecosystem very much. Now, everything is very much reachable online. And people abroad are able to use, make contracts and follow everything online around the world. And so now India, I think, can benefit more, and I think is benefiting more from this new age.
Let's take a couple of more questions. One we have at the back from stage, and then Naresh.
My question, I believe, I think it must be if you were as an investor looking at investment possibilities, what exactly are the strengths in the company, any sector that you really looking at? What kind of strength, what kind of maturity level at which you would like to enter into an Indian sector?
What's your name again? Shirish. Shirish, as a matter of fact, I want to give this answer personally, okay? Because every investor is responsible for his own money. So answers may differ from investor to investor. But my personal feedback, you ask me, what are you going to focus on in the business or in the entrepreneur? I will never focus on the quality of the business or quality of the entrepreneur as a priority. This is not my priority. It comes later. I will first look at two things, because I am not a donator. I am an investor, which means first I have to think about the future of my investments. What about the return of investments? What could be the multiplier, and in how many years? These are the main questions in my mind. Otherwise, I cannot create a sustainable contribution to the world economy, isn't it? I will make exits and then reinvest and create more jobs. This is the strategy. Okay, in that case, my first two priorities are, number one, who is co-investor from the local markets? Because if I invest in an Indian startup here, for post-investment stakes, I need a co-investor. This is number one. The co-investor should not be the owner of a restaurant on the corner of the street, but an investor who knows what due diligence is, who knows what company valuation is, who knows a qualified angel investor. This is what I am talking about. This is number one. So I think what is missing in Indian ecosystem is the qualified angel investor certification programs that you may also introduce to the ecosystem. Number two is exit within the market, not exit in Silicon Valley. How can I make exit in India? So these two answers are going to motivate me to listen, to focus on the entrepreneur and his business or not. But first I have to, if there is no local co-investor and if there is no exit strategy within the market, investing in a startup will take my so much time, to tell you the truth, in the future. So you may also alert policymakers here to focus on how to mobilize corporate venture capital in India. Because generally, stock exchange, because I was a senior advisor of the London Stock Exchange Group, stock exchange don't enjoy opening doors to small businesses. They don't list the small businesses because listing means inviting people to invest in these startups, and it is very risky for them. They cannot do it. So Bombay Stock Exchange, for example, or whatever, Delhi Stock Exchange, forget them. I mean, stock exchange will not be instrumental as to create an exit strategy within the market. But corporate venture capital is a good way for second and third round or whatever round investments in the future, which is an exit strategy for the foreign investor in the market. What I mean by corporate venture capital, CVC, is, for example, the Coca-Cola company as a bottling company in India, let's say, or as a matter of fact, this is also an advantage of India, because many countries in Bahrain, Coca-Cola doesn't have a bottling company, or Mercedes doesn't have it because they are small countries. But in India, each global brand has its own production center. This is a big advantage. So policymakers may consider inviting these international companies to put their 1% or 0.5% revenue or profits to invest every year in startups as a through a law, I mean corporate venture law. This small amount, which is a big amount by the way for the startup economy, and this will make certain that let's say if you are making an health tech, developing an insurtech company, then this means these banks, each of them has to put some money every year to new companies. And your insurtech project can be something interesting for them.
Let me ask a follow-up question. Do these examples exist in other countries
No.
of CVC?
No, this is what we also invite G20 countries to consider. Because, India is a correct country that can initiate this. In other countries, let's say the African countries or South, in small countries, it is difficult for policymakers because they are convincing international companies to open their production branch under a very difficult conditions. And inviting them not to put 1% of your revenue, they will not likely to won't negotiate this with them. But India, this is not the case because here the king is Indian administration, because all these companies will like to be in India, must be in India. So they cannot say, hey, we didn't enjoy this law, now goodbye. They cannot do it.
I think Israel does it in some way. Some of the MNCs which are there in Israel.
They have. Do they have?
Need to actually fund the startups and perhaps buy them back.
By law. Maybe. I didn't hear, but maybe. Let's check. But it
I mean,
is.
we're looking at it.
Yeah.
As you rightly said, we have so many MNCs here.
Yeah.
So how do we really make the best use of the MNC ecosystem?
By the way, this will be also good for the entrepreneurs' mindset. Why? Because entrepreneurs are generally developing business ideas depending upon their personal background, not depending upon the market demand. I am a teacher, so I develop an e-education system. But I don't know if the market needs it or not, because this is what I can do. If there is a list of corporate venture capital available in the market, then I check one by one which industries, which factories or which brands are putting money to startups. If it is a bottling company, then I start thinking about smart bottling system. If it is a hospital, then I may start thinking about healthcare, something like this. So I can develop my business idea in such a way that I can easily raise money in the future. And this will also attract global investors.
Yeah.
Because global investors will say, hey, I will put 100K now, then Mercedes has also capital venture here, then 5 years later, they will invest $5 million. Because these companies will never like to deal with 100Ks. They like putting $5 million, $10 million. This is otherwise they have to work so much. It is better to spend as much as so 5 years later, when I raise 5M from this corporate venture, this is an exit for me.
Good, thank you. I think we'll take a last question from Naresh.
Thank you so much. So I think just let me add on this law. So we have the CSR which allows
2% of the profit.
going to the incubator. So through this, if slight modification can be made, that the investment could be done. Otherwise, they don't specify the investment to start up. So if that clause gets modified, that will be great.
So as of now, the clause says that you can donate the money for promotion of innovation. It's not the investment. Investment is prohibited as of now for the CSR.
No incubator.
Yeah.
But coming to the question,
It's going to be a grant money, right?
No, it can be given to a grant for the promotion, innovation, and for R&D purpose. Yeah.
coming to the question on the customer finance concept, how that can be applied to B2B or big hardware projects where the gestation period is much longer. So how it is not a
B2B,
subscription that can happen.
as a matter of fact, B2B projects are risky projects because when customer stops buying, you lose a big revenue, isn't it? In B2C projects, you are addressing to a mass, so millions of people. Here you are addressing with the big the one. So I mean, generally, business starts as a B2C model. By time, B2B comes as a optional income line. This is how it is. But if it is all B2B without B2C, it is risky.
Yeah.
For example, I will never invest in a completely B2B project because in B2B projects, generally, entrepreneur is, the main asset of the business because he is making the contracts, he has personal relationship, he is developing it. It is not like the B2C businesses. If entrepreneur leaves the company, it means you are going to lose most of the maybe customers. So it is very risky. There's a TV channel in Turkey. The channel is very successful, but not able to find an investor. Do you know why? Because the owner is everything of the channel. He is organizing everything, and if he leaves the channel, nobody can do these programs, and nobody will find these sponsors. The sponsors will leave, etc. So nobody invests in the uninvestable company.
You have to create levels. You can delegate the responsibility. Okay, we'll take one last question here.
Thank you, Vibhar, for the wonderful inputs. Completely resonate with you on angel investing. So one of the things that I want to talk about that you mentioned about corporate venture capital, I think it's a good terminology for the developed world, and we've seen a lot of pharma companies investing in CVC. But in India, the concept is family offices. So we've seen a lot of family offices because I do a lot of angel investing in healthcare, and all the pharma companies, typically FMCG companies, do invest in the family offices, and which has been the trend for the last 7 years. And I think we may not see corporate venture capital, but we do see family offices investing in companies at early stage where they do strategic value. And I think that is the trend we are seeing, and it's actually working out very well. So I thought I'll just kind of add this.
And one more thing has started happening. Most of these large organizations have started their venture arms.
Yes.
So some of the profit has been flowed back. So the venture arms are 100% owned subsidiary of the main company. Like for example, Reliance is GenNext Fund. Number of other companies have the venture arm, and they are investing actively. But the investment is not happening for, let's say, a pharma company investing in water business. They are trying to find the businesses which are similar, so that in the longer run they can acquire or they can work with them.
Yeah, I think it's about value add. If you think they can do a value add, and also probably look at diversification, because a lot of pharma companies in India are also matured, and now they're looking for diversification, so they don't mind investing in complementary technologies, which could actually be disruption. So I think completely resonate with what you said. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a few comments about family offices issue. Of course, it depends on if it is a single family office or multiple, but in general, family offices are run by the people. The family trusts very much, and this trust is gained after many years. And these people don't want to lose the trust they gained at the end of 50 years. So they don't like to, they don't enjoy taking risks. This is the main challenging part of family offices. And second challenging issue is in the family offices, the second or third generation are studying in the US, coming back, and they are not able to take an active role in the family office because of these reasons. because the family sees them potential. I mean, the man of the future, not now. So if in India, family offices are good at the investing strategies for startup, then it is really good.
Yeah.
It is really good because in many countries this is not the case.
Yeah, so we go about hiring CFAs because there are enough CFAs in this country who actually represent them as a general partner, and then they don't have to. The family doesn't have to play a very active role. Rather, they keep a Chinese ball sometimes.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think it's a wonderful session. So let us give a big round of applause to Mr. Dawar. I think there are a lot of takeaways for us from the session. Not only his personal commitment about like how as a student just broke and he built up one of the largest education business of Turkey. And I think he has done something very different. He was not having an education background. He was not having any kind of tech background or an association background. So from being just a student and riding a supercar and then meeting Obama and convincing Obama to do something which is quite phenomenal. And considering Turkey is still a developing world, Turkey is not the mainstream European country. It's not Germany, it's not UK, it's anything. So I think it's a great lesson for us. Sometimes as Indians, we also play underdogs. We have a lot of inherent power, whether it's a power of collective, power of wisdom, power of technology. We can play a larger role. And with his visit, I'm sure now when Mr. Ratantas, when he go to his international travels, he will tell us what the wonderful country he is coming from.
Yeah,
So
I will tell the family offices are working well in India. For example. By the way, one last word. You didn't ask me at the end of my company, the education company story. You didn't ask it.
Please tell us.
I developed, which you can find when you Google, write my name and then franchise public offering. I developed a new system in Turkey, FPO, franchise public offering. Have you ever heard? My company, okay, was a very profitable company, but not as big as to go to IPO at the Istanbul Stock Exchange. So education companies, unfortunately, are not able to produce $100 million revenue, where some stock exchange put $20 million, for example, as a minimum in different countries. So then I adapted my experience from franchise industry to the IPO structure, and I made an FPO, franchise public offering, which means I owned 12 schools at the same time, and each of them has been franchised to independent entrepreneurs, one by one. They are all
they become co-owners of your company.
Yes, exactly. So this is something like going to public, but through the businesses you established. This worked very well. As a matter of fact, I could, if I am here and able to enjoy this session with you, this is thanks to this FPO system I developed. If I wouldn't develop this FPO system, I would still be in my office in Istanbul, dealing with 1,200 staff, the teachers, inspectors from Ministry of Education, the tax officers in different cities, etc. This is what I will do, and I will deal with all these issues. So I like. Let's make my closing remarks with a statement from Umberto Eco. He says, I like it very much because this is what I lived in person, by the way. Human being creates the institutions. After he creates the institutions, then he becomes the employee of the institution he created. So I think this is a very important border that if you really become the employee of the institution, of the company you created, then I think you will lose your entrepreneurial skill by time and become the manager of your company. And please note that every year, business administration departments are, there are thousands of, hundreds of thousands of people are graduating from these schools to manage companies. So you can find managers, but you may not find good entrepreneurial skill. And please don't kill your entrepreneurial skill by putting yourself as a staff in the company, in the business you're creating. Thank you very much, dear friends. Thank you, Nico.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I hope.
So in fact, let me open up this for you.
Oh my God. Yes.
He has not told one of his hobbies that he's a luminist. So he collects the currency of the world, and he specifically said that I want to get all the Indian currency nicely, banknotes. We said
Oh my
we will give you this whole
Thank
currency.
you. Thank you.
And in fact, this is still valid. Yeah. So, you know, this one will become invalid after 20th of September.
Really? This is, yeah.
So you may be the last person to take it out of the country.
As a matter of fact, it is good now you opened another chapter for me to speak. You know Turkey, where I am coming from. Do you know that money was invented in Turkey? Before Christ, there was a Lydia kingdom in Anatolia. Lydia people are the first who started using coins in the world. So this region is called as Manisa. The name of the city is Manisa. So money, you can it is still Manisa. So it was created as the city has now the museum for the first money coins of the world.
Really?
Yes. Now I will take these banknotes to the country where money was invented.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
There is some more
More money?
items. But these are the gifts from our entrepreneurs. So there are some of the things that they have produced
Yes.
in different companies that they have.
Okay. All startups.
All startups.
Okay, let's show you.
So this one
Culture box.
is from a company called
Ah.
Caltech.
It's also coin.
Yeah. So this is coins, but you have to find the coin. It's an ancient coin. It's a replica of the ancient coins.
By the way, in Mumbai, your finance ministry presented to each delegate G20 coin of India, which is very nice, very beautiful. Yes.
See, the money is following you.
So money is following you. Now, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you. And I hope to see you in Turkey. And please find me in the LinkedIn, and let's keep in touch. And I'm not able to answer all messages immediately, but definitely I'm giving a feedback. So let's keep in touch. And thank you very much for joining us today. And let's give a big hand to dear Dr. Nikhil for his effort to connect the ecosystem with global markets. Thank you very much.